Warning. This post contains spoilers for Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 2. Rick's kind gesture at the end of Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 2 has a dark undertone which might prove that he's an irredeemable character. At the end of Rick, a Mort well-lived, Rick allows Marta, a 5/1000th of Morty, to continue living within the simulated reality of the Roy, a life well-lived arcade cabinet. On the surface, it appears like a kind gesture which shows that Rick's character continues to grow after he abandoned his quest for revenge in the Season 6 premiere. However, there's a much darker implication to Rick's decision to allow Marta to remain inside the game that presents his relationship with his grandson Morty in an uncomfortable light. Rick, a Mort well-lived is a hybrid of a Rick and Morty die-hard parody and a high-concept sci-fi plot about machine learning and individuality. When a gang of die-hard obsessed aliens holds an arcade hostage, Morty becomes trapped inside the game Roy, a life well-lived. Entering the game to save Morty, Rick realizes that his grandson's personality has been splintered across the game's 5 billion non-player characters. He attempts to convince everyone to leave the reality of the game, to restore Morty to his full self. However, not everyone wants to leave, creating friction between Rick and Marta, the most forthright and independent Morty splinter, who decides she wants to remain. Eventually, Rick agrees to allow Marta to live in the game world, leading the rest of the Morty splinters to the boundary of the game's reality, and restoring his grandson. Rick's decision to allow Marta to remain in the game, and request that it is left running, appears to continue Rick and Morty Season 6's main story of Rick Sanchez finally becoming a better father and grandfather. Marta is part of Morty after all, and in respecting her and honoring her wishes, Rick is showing that he loves and respects his grandson. However, there's the unavoidable fact that, regardless of his good intentions, removing the Marta aspect removes the part of Morty that stands up to Rick. This is highlighted by Morty's last line of the episode, "Whatever you say, Rick, you know best. I trust you implicitly." In helping Marta, Rick has created a more compliant version of Morty, which will benefit him in the long run by enabling his bad behavior, casting doubt on the truth of Rick's Season 6 growth. It proves that Rick still has a long way to go in redeeming himself, a plot development that puts the key to Rick's redemption in the hands of Morty. Why Rick isn't the most important figure for Rick redemption, Morty is. Despite the dark implications of Rick's actions, Marta proves one thing about his relationship with Morty. In turning on Rick, and confronting him about his inability to show affection toward Morty inside the game, Marta shows the audience that Morty could do the same in reality. There was a glimmer of this in how Morty convinced Rick to abandon his revenge mission against Weird Rick to go and save Summer and both Beths in the Rick and Morty Season 6 premiere. Outside the game, Rick needs the more direct intervention of someone like Marta to put him on the path to redemption. This might be more difficult now that the Marta aspect has been removed from Morty, but Roy's 4,999,999,999 other non-player characters present hope. While Marta was the most vocal, there were many other aspects who were critical of Rick's behavior and lack of affection toward Morty. As Rick and Morty Season 6 continues, Morty will hopefully draw on these remaining aspects to stand up for himself and force Rick to change his behavior.